So in everyday conversation, when people say they're depressed, they use the word depression as a synonym for sadness. It's the normal human reaction to the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. In that sense, all of us know the pain of depression. And yet, in a clinical context, depression is shorthand for a devastating illness. There. Okay. For a devastating illness, we refer to it technically as major depressive disorder. This is an illness which robs people of their restorative sleep, robs them of their energy, robs them of their focus, their concentration, their memory, their sex drive, their ability to experience the pleasures of life. For most individuals, it robs them of their ability to love and work and play, and it may even rob them of their will to live, and I'll tell you why. Because we now know depression lights up the pain circuitry of the brain to such an extent that most clinically depressed individuals, if you talk to them and they let their guard down, they will tell you, as they've told me hundreds of times, it's torment, it's agony, it's torture. And many begin to look to death as a welcome means of escape. Depression is the main driver behind suicide, which now claims over 1 million lives every year worldwide. Now, I know what you're probably thinking at this point. Man, this talk is going to be really, depressing.
Yeah, I'd encourage you guys, because it's a pretty long talk. Everybody talked about depression, and it's being used as a synonym in our society for sadness, right? And it's true. I definitely see that. This is another talk that I wanted to show you guys. It's a man that goes by the name of Dr. Alan Francis, and he was one of the guys that actually chaired the development of the DSM-4. I went to go see him talk at the university about a year ago. Brilliant man. He talks a lot about the overdiagnoses in our society today. So this is what a formative talk. I'm gonna get it going, and we can get the camera back up and we get talking about it.
Dr. Alan Francis is an American psychiatrist best known for chairing the task force that produced the fourth revision of the American Psychiatric Association's Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, DSM-4. He is now in the spotlight for his critique of DSM-5. His new book, Saving Normal, is described as an insider's revolt against out-of-control psychiatric diagnosis, DSM-5, Big Pharma, and the medicalization of ordinary life.
I think that our mental health system is in a mess now. And I'm afraid that with DSM-5, it will get even worse. People who are essentially normal are being diagnosed with mental disorders they don't have and being treated with potentially harmful medication they don't need. Small changes in the diagnostic system can result in tens of millions of people who were normal the day before suddenly qualifying for a diagnosis. And DSM-5 has made many of these changes, I think, quite recklessly, without careful and independent scientific review, and without a concern about the possible risks involved, focusing only on benefits. I myself qualified for a number of the DSM-5 disorders. When my wife died 5 years ago, I felt sad, I lost interest, I couldn't sleep as well, my appetite was more than usual, and I felt much less energy, it was hard to work. In DSM-5, those symptoms, typical symptoms of everyday grief, would be called major depressive disorder after just 2 weeks. And that wasn't major, it wasn't depressive, it wasn't a disorder. When you love someone and you lose them, that's just grief and sadness. Another very important change in DSM-5 is the huge expansion of a category called somatic symptom disorder. If you have a medical illness and you're worried about it, that becomes a mental disorder. This would qualify 1/4 of cancer, heart disease, and diabetes patients for a mental disorder because they're worried about their illness. Normality is impossible to define. It's a cultural concept rather than a medical one. Originally, there were only 6 diagnoses, and now there are about 200. Our society is already immersed in pill popping. 1 out of every 5 adults takes medication every day. 6% of the population is addicted to psychotropic medications. The sales of antipsychotics are $18 billion a year, amongst the highest of all classes of drugs. The sales of antidepressants, $12 billion a year. Stimulants, $7 billion a year. I think that from the point of view of clinicians, it's important to be cautious in your diagnoses. Don't jump to conclusions. Don't make fancy diagnoses after a brief initial contact with patients. If you're a patient or a family member, what should you do? Don't stop your medicine. Don't go alone, because you may be in the category of people who really need it. The very clear thing that's happening now is the people who most needing treatment aren't getting it. And the people who least need it are getting too much of it. And you need to figure out where you are in that continuum and make sure that the treatment that you get is tailored to your needs. Second opinions and third opinions are enormously valuable. I think people shouldn't make dramatic changes in their medication and other aspects of their life without consulting a clinician if you're already in treatment. But I think on the other hand, it's important that we not continue this practice of overdiagnosis and overtreatment for people who don't need it, and that we really need to focus our attention on those people who do.
Cool. So I'm gonna bring it up to the audience. What are your thoughts on the things that you saw just in the screen right now?
Well, my thoughts. I would say definitely I agree with some of the things the second gentleman said, Dr. Allen. Definitely there is a tendency for overdiagnosis because it's so much easier for you to go to the doctor and the doctor points at this, and this, and that on the chart and says, oh, we can locate you right here. You have this disorder, we can throw a pill at it and everything will be okay now in about 2 weeks if you don't kill yourself. It's easy to do that. But we forget that sometimes it's only a matter of something small like counseling or encouraging the person to take an active role in their own health care. We want human beings, we want somebody to fix us. Oftentimes it just takes a few changes in our own lives. At my workplace, I happen to be a nurse in the occupational sector. We did recently a presentation for all of our employees on coping and with stress. And we've done other medical related presentations, but this one I had employees stopping me up and down, asking for copies, people coming and saying this had such a great impact because it just, the coping mechanisms that were in the presentation, they're like, I didn't know this. Just things like taking a walk, not going from work to home, home to work, and that being your whole life. Just something like we work to live, we don't live to work. Knowledge of that, just simple things, knowing how to take quality time with your children, it made the difference for a whole lot of people. And for some people, it didn't make a big change in their life, but even the awareness of how to cope with the stress, and it was during a very stressful time for many of the people in that environment, and it really did help. And sometimes just awareness of how we can make changes in our own lives makes so much of a difference. But unfortunately, in modern day, we like to throw a solution or what we perceive as a solution at the problem and hope something will stick, even if it ends up killing you.
Yeah, I really liked what we got as a definition of depression, because for me, I was exactly like everybody else. Whenever you feel a little sad, depressed. And because of that, also, but there's one thing also, because I have a doctor, a psychologist, and we talk really a lot. And every time he's trying to say, oh, you should be on medication, whatever. I know he's a doctor there, but I know I have the power I'm the first person who should know what I need. So I always say, no, I don't want that. I don't want to become crazy. I'm not crazy. So I want to try something else. So I always make sure this is the last result for me. And now I get it, because the doctor is not a magician. He doesn't know exactly what is life and why in that stage, especially because we don't tell our whole story. We tell the part that we remember at that point. So it's
Maybe like 10 minutes or so to tell the entire life story.
yeah, that's the thing. So as for me, it's important as an individual to take care of yourself and get to know all this thing and I mean yeah, take care of yourself first and see. But yeah, it's true. So we have tendency to search for quick fix.
It's not.
And yeah,
It takes.
the problem is still there. We're just trying to cope with life, but this is not the solution. Take care of yourself. Yourself.
So I really need to say this, and I think this is something that keeps hitting. We need to get to a place as individuals. I know there's a lot happening in our lives, but I think it's important for us to be a little bit aware around us and what they are going through. Because sometimes there are people that are struggling with issues, and the only thing we need to do is to send them a message. A text message, call them and be like, are you okay? Is everything okay? Can we spend 5-10 minutes to talk? To figure out what, because sometimes all people need is a listening ear. That's all they need. They don't even need a pill. That support is very, very important. So I think when other people going through stuff, and this is one thing I keep reminding myself of, that I'm not the only one on this planet. I don't know how to others too. So I know that we have a lot going on in our lives, but occasionally we should try to look for someone else that's going through stuff. That needs somebody to encourage them and say, are you okay? Can I take you out for coffee? Do you want to go shopping this weekend? Can I babysit your kids if I have to? And that alone takes out some pressure off of them, because they can, take some minutes to just relax and feel like they're in control of the time and not be overwhelmed. Because when you get overwhelmed, you get stressed. That's when you start feeling sad, depressed, alone. You don't know what to do with yourself. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
I also work on the crisis lines, and what recently I noticed that a lot on the lines. People are so quick to say, oh, I have depression or I have schizophrenia, that they make it their identity, and that creates a lot of stress. And most of the time, the stress that they feel when they call in is like, oh, nobody understands me, nobody understands me. From my point of view, being on the crisis lines and hearing all the stories that people are calling for, it's what I've noticed is that people feel that they're crazy, but what they don't realize is that everybody feels to a degree, and it depends on what you define this crazy is. They're experiencing the same thing, and what they're experiencing is quite normal and quite frequent. So again, with the providing a listening ear, validation, and telling them, you're not going through this alone. What you're feeling is quite normal. Let's find out what we can do to get through the night. So that's a really good point. So that's what my thoughts are too, especially after the video. So thank you for sharing that.